Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 202 based on novel. So let's start. Land of Origin Source World. Flame, Wind and Thunder flew out of their seclusion, following the causality induction, heading straight to Huyang City to visit Morosa. Luofoam has actually become a lord. Flame, Wind and Thunder were emotionally stirred, yet their emotions haven't settled even now. Just now, they witnessed a group of high-level primordial life forms descending in the dark sacred realm, with Cheng leading numerous high-level primordial life forms, declaring that the entire Dark World group is now the absolute territory of the newly born Lord Luofoam. Flame, Wind and Thunder, after hearing the news among the cultivator community for just a moment, could not hold back. Their avatars in their homeland Source World immediately came to visit Morosa. Lord. The highest level existence in infinite primordial space. Great, invincible, omnipotent. The last time Flame, Wind and Thunder were summoned by Luofoam, he was already a half-primordial fusion path cultivator, and they were flattered and believed that Luofoam might escape the braided cage. However, they never expected Luofoam would become the greatest existence. Innumerable source worlds have opportunities left by Yuan. Senior Yuan would guide the juniors. In the future, among numerous surrounding world groups, Luofoam will guide and lead the juniors. The Land of Origin Source World is the Lord's homeland. The entire Dark World group is the Lord's absolute territory. It's only natural that the homeland Source World is also the Lord's. What qualification do we have to establish a country? What qualification do we have to occupy such a vast territory? After confirming Luofoam's current status, they immediately realized the issue. In fact, having experienced several eras of the Source World, they were not interested in building an ancient country. The purpose of building an ancient country was merely for resources. But now, Lord Luo is the greatest opportunity. They arrived at Huyang City, following the causality induction, outside Morosa's cave mansion. Why would the two ancient countries' ancestors come to see me? Morosa, giving them face, immediately opened the cave mansion's gate and met them. Flame, Wind, Xiao Ma, meets brother Morosa. Flame, Wind and Thunder greeted respectfully, lowering their stance significantly. Morosa was startled for a moment, then smiled and said, "You two know too." Of course, a large group of high-level primordial life forms descended upon the dark sacred realm and proactively announced everything. Thunder said excitedly, "The entire Dark World group is the absolute territory of the great Lord Luofoam. As members of the Lord's homeland Source World, we feel extremely honored. We are both willing to offer the ancient country, just asking to serve the Lord." Flame, Wind also said. Morosa blinked upon hearing this. Lord? The master hadn't told him in detail. He originally guessed Luofoam might be the master of the Source World. Now it seems, his master is far more terrifying than anticipated. According to the information Morosa understood, the ancestor level is the highest tier of the innate primordial life, corresponding to the Lord level among cultivators, with Senior Yuan at this level. Now, his master Luofoam is also at this level. Soon, the master will completely transform the entire Land of Origin, Morosa said. If you don't voluntarily offer, the two ancient countries will cease to exist. Yes, we understand. Flame, Wind and Thunder replied obediently. I can't promise you too much, Morosa said, looking at them, but I can guide you on a path. Flame, Wind and Thunder listened carefully. Emperor Chu is the master's teacher. Morosa said, with an extraordinary status, if Emperor Chu is willing to help you, your fates would naturally change. Morosa was well aware that the master's subordinates were divided into three factions. One is the Luo family and Earthlings faction, whose status needs no explanation. The second is the Primordial Cosmos Humans faction, including Primordial Ancestor, Primal Chaos City Lord, Jinyan, and Giant Axe, among which Luofoam's teacher is included. The third is the Land of Origin faction, with Morosa, Emperor Chu, and Mountain Sitting Guest as the core. The only connection for the two ancient country ancestors to establish was with Emperor Chu. Even Emperor Chu Yu, Emperor Qing, Di Fu, and Emperor Ming have good relations with the master. Morosa said. Flame Wind was quite regretful upon hearing this. These juniors hold significantly more importance in Lord Luo's heart than he does. He underestimated Lord Luo's potential at first, did not pay attention, and when he finally realized, Luofoam no longer required their help. All of them belonged to the Flame Wind ancient country. Thunder was now extremely remorseful, as none from the Thunder ancient country maintained good relations with Lord Luofoam. I've said all there is to say, act wisely on your own. Morosa finished speaking, stood up, clearly signaling them to leave. Flame Wind and Thunder obediently left at once. If not for the connections of Emperor Chu Yu, Morosa might not have met Flame Wind and Thunder at all. Because in the three main factions set by the Master, Flame Wind and Thunder can't even enter the secondary core. In the land of origin source world, among the endless universe ocean, Luofoam gazed towards the deepest 3,000 primordial cosmoses. Rise. With a thought, in the original time and space of the 3,000 primordial cosmoses, new primordial cosmoses began to nurture, reaching as many as 100,000. The interiors of these newborn primordial cosmoses also began to evolve gradually. Luofoam allowed these primordial cosmoses to evolve, except for one adjacent to the galaxy Sacred Land universe, which he began to guide. This primordial cosmos was specially designed for the resurrected beings to live. On the Luo family side, as well as the primordial cosmos human clan, the efficiency was very high. They had already determined their respective resurrection lists. While on the land of origin's side, Morosa, Emperor Chu, and mountain-sitting guest had just begun to make contact. Begin the resurrection. When Luofoam was resurrected, he was retrieved along with entire galaxies from the river of time and space. Still the Milky Way, still the solar system, still that blue planet. Many creatures are resurrecting, one by one, the dead war gods, war generals, warriors, their families and friends. The Earthlings from Luofoam's era have the lowest resurrection threshold. As long as they are not major criminals, they are all revived. Swish 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 tilde tilde tilde, on this blue planet, hundreds of millions of lives are being resurrected. Members that Luofoam focused on, like the members of the Firehammer Squad and former heroes, even those close relatives who were lost during the period of Grand Nirvana, were resurrected one by Luofoam. This resulted in creatures who died at different times being resurrected in the same era. Grandfather, father, son, perhaps the son appears the oldest. After all, the grandfather may have died young during the Grand Nirvana period. The father might be a hero from Luofoam's era, and the son might have lived to old age and died of natural causes. Whoa! On many other planets, creatures are also being resurrected. Besides Earthlings from Luofoam's era, other resurrection thresholds are much higher. Even for the Luo family, the mediocre Luo family members are not resurrected if they died. As for the entire human clan of the primordial cosmos, the scope is too vast, making the resurrection threshold even higher. Extremely brilliant geniuses, heroes with outstanding contributions, some pillars of the human clan, these individuals and their valued friends and relatives will also be resurrected. A burly man appeared in the starry sky, holding a giant axe, looking around somewhat puzzled. Wasn't I dead? This place seems to be the primordial cosmos. The giant axe felt some confusion at that moment. With the vast galaxy he sensed within range, and the rules operating within the primordial cosmos, all seemed like his home, the primordial cosmos. But here, there is no virtual universe, and many planets have no creatures. The giant axe was filled with confusion. I can confirm that my soul was obliterated earlier, it was complete death. As for the strongest in the universe, they should not be capable of resurrection. The giant axe moved with intent, and with a swing of his axe, he tore open the membrane of the primordial cosmos and whoosh, flew out of this primordial cosmos. After flying out, the giant axe was stunned. He saw a distant primordial cosmos and another primordial cosmos of the same size, the galaxy Sacred Land universe, along with another large primordial cosmos. Because the primordial cosmos is so large, even from a great distance, it can still be seen. In my visible range, there are a total of 28 primordial cosmii. The giant axe was a bit dazed. This wasn't the world he knew. Where have I ended up? Giant axe. A group of familiar figures flew in from afar. Primordial Ancestor, Primal Chaos City Lord, Pengong, Dark, Deserted Mirror, Longxing, Hong. You all? The giant axe looked at these familiar beings, and he even realized that some of them were merely divine power incarnations but already far stronger than himself. Giant axe. Welcome to the new era. Primal Chaos City Lord beamed brightly. A source world without an owner can only evolve by instinct with extremely low energy utilization efficiency. The land of origin is still too small. Luofoam thought. The land of origin began to extend and expand into the universe ocean, with endless energy surging in, transforming into vast land. This also made the energy in the universe ocean even more scarce. Eventually, the land of origin expanded by 100-fold. 99% of the universe ocean's regions became energy deserts. Only the energy supply for 10,000 primordial cosmii was maintained. Energy needs to be used where it is needed. Luofoam completely transformed the appearance of the land of origin, only then nodding in satisfaction. The source world origin, the energy is extremely abundant. Higher even than the energy reserves of Lan. Lan maintains a nearly source world-sized body, with the highest level of body energy density, and the matter is indestructible. A source world, maintaining such time, has low energy density, ordinary matter. So more than 99% of the energy is stored in the origin. No matter how many times the source world is destroyed and reborn, it remains undamaged. Luofoam merely maintained 100-fold land of origin land and 10,000 primordial cosmii, and the burden on the source world origin was still very light. Because more of its energy reserves are to be kept for nurturing life. With an owner, a source world's nurtured life can be 100 times more than a source world without an owner. Luofoam sighed. The difference between having and not having an owner is too significant. Lord, the Blood Crane territory is unwilling to return the occupied territory and has a malicious attitude, directly destroying my avatar. Chengsha reported the information and transmitted the full process footage to the Lord. Luofoam frowned slightly. In his territorial range, the long-standing, Omomo influence obediently retreated, yet the younger influence, Blood Crane territory, appeared much more domineering and aggressive. This Blood Crane territory has been known to be rather domineering and aggressive. I didn't expect that in my cultivator territory, they would dare to be so brazen. Luofoam was somewhat angry. In Luofoam's view, in the infinite primordial space, only the innate primordial life camp and the ice peak camp were qualified to be opponents of the cultivator camp. As for the Blood Crane territory, what does it count for? I want to see how capable this Blood Crane territory truly is. Luofoam thought, and instantly his main battle avatar flew out of his hometown source world, heading straight for the border. The time-space of the infinite primordial space is incredibly fragile before Luofoam, with the highest level of life and death forces easily tearing open a time travel passage. Luofoam swiftly departed from the origin continent origin world at incredible speed, and in just a moment, Luofoam flew out of the entire Dark World group. Boom! Luofoam is flying at super high speed. A world group is an area where many source worlds densely exist, and such places are regarded as prosperous zones, nurturing a large number of innate primordial life. However, between world groups, it is extremely desolate, with hardly any creatures except in a few peculiar environments. And the 3,600 world groups is the area with the most source worlds and the closest distance chosen by the cultivator lords. Compared to those ancestors, my speed is quite fast. But compared to Starlight, it's far inferior. Luofoam has the experience of traveling with Starlight. Starlight, as if walking on a map, transcends time and space. My traveling speed is too slow. The Blood Crane territory is somewhat troublesome. While traveling, Luofoam pondered about this opponent. The Blood Crane territory is a relatively small force in the entire infinite primordial space, a force nurtured by a mysterious land. This mysterious land has nurtured numerous creatures, among them the three strongest beings are at ancestor level, calling themselves Blood Lord, Crane Lord, and Shadow Lord. The remaining creatures are world-level primordial and even weaker levels. Infinite primordial space has nurtured many ancient existences, but many don't consider themselves part of the innate primordial camp. Luofoam thought. Especially the undying and undying beings, who are detached and are unwilling to get involved in the disputes of the innate primordial camp. Like the absolute sphere named Initial, and another absolute cube named Mo-Man. Their forms of existence are similar, both quite peculiar. But Initial considers itself part of the innate primordial and has become one of the 9 emperors. Meanwhile, Mo-Man couldn't care less about the innate primordial camp. There are also many tribes nurtured by mysterious lands. The Blood Crane territory has nurtured the Blood Crane territory clan. The Feather Realm has nurtured the Feather Realm clan, among them the Undying and Undying Feather Emperor. The Giant God Realm has nurtured the Giant God race. The Infinite World has nurtured the Infinite Great Serpent clan. Their strengths vary, but in essence, there's not much difference. However, the first 2 haven't joined the innate primordial camp, whereas the latter 2 have become the 2 holy lands of the innate primordial camp. The best food for the Infinite Great Serpent clan is the Source World origin, and the Source World is the home of cultivators. To contend with the cultivator camp, the Infinite Great Serpent clan must leverage the entire innate primordial camp. Although the Giant God Realm doesn't care about the Source World origin, it does care about other resources. Relying solely on absorbing primordial force for growth is too slow. If one forcibly consolidated various forces into the innate primordial camp, they would have fought internally long ago. Luofoam thought, the Giant God race doesn't like disputes, and can tolerate the Infinite Great Serpent clan. Would other undying and undying existences be willing to bow down before the Infinite Snake Ancestor? After spending more than 10 days, Luofoam reached the border of the cultivator territory, following invisible life sensing, heading directly towards the Shadow Lord of the Blood Crane territory. Among the Blood Crane territory clan, the Blood Lord is low-key, rarely showing up. The Crane Lord can be considered peaceful, but only the Shadow Lord is the most domineering. Luofoam had already known about this figure. The one occupying the cultivator territory was led by this Shadow Lord with some of their tribe. Luofoam stopped in a vast void, looking from afar. He had already locked onto the location of the Shadow Lord through the life chi mechanism, who at this moment was fused into the vast space, occupying an enormous region. So it is Lord Luofoam who has arrived. A voice echoed around. You 8 cultivator lords are occupying a total of 3,600 world groups, isn't that too greedy? I only took 16 world groups, is that not excessive? Shadow Lord of the Blood Crane territory, you have quite the nerve. Luofoam said. Previously, as the war on the cultivators' side was seemingly losing, the Ice Peak camp and a few other forces took the opportunity to occupy some world groups. But after the war ended, some weaker forces voluntarily retreated. Only a very few were unwilling to withdraw. They all had some reliance. I am also helping you. That voice traveled from different time spaces. Because you occupy too much territory, you provoke the innate primordial camp to act. If you occupied less territory, wouldn't there be much less trouble? Luofoam coldly surveyed all directions. The opponent's force permeated everywhere. HMPH. With a single thought, centered around Luofoam, the vast realm of life and death enveloped all directions, crushing every space-time, destroying all hidden shadows in the space-time, forcing these shadows to converge into a massive figure in the distance. It was a towering shadow, with blood-red eyes gazing at Luofoam. I told you to withdraw before, and you didn't. Luofoam coldly looked at him. Now you have only one path left. Obediently hand over all the resources you occupied in the cultivator territory, and further compensate with 3 times the resources, and promise never to offend the cultivator territory in the future by a fraction. All the resources I painstakingly seized are to be given to you, along with triple compensation. The vast shadow burst into a peculiar laugh. He, interesting. All those I invaded from other forces, I have never suffered a loss. Lord Luofoam, with you acting like this, I am very displeased. These 16 world groups seem too few to me now. I want to take over 32 world groups, the vast shadow stated. Otherwise, I will keep an eye on your cultivator territory eternally, attacking again and again, without rest. The voice of the shadow echoed in the surrounding space-time. I would like to see what your cultivator camp's 8 lords can do to me. The blood-red eyes of the vast shadow were filled with ferocity, though none of the 3 lords of Blood Crane territory had reached the level of undying and undying. These ancient existences had some life-saving methods. The Shadow Lord, with confidence in his life-saving abilities, behaved so domineeringly and aggressively. Previously bullying some weaker forces, this time he bullied the cultivator camp. Very well. Luofoam stood there, his gaze turned cold. Boom! Centered on Luofoam, in an instant, a billion blade lights burst out from the surface of his body. All the blade lights locked onto the body of the Shadow Lord through life sensing. In the battles between the 2 major camps, it was the highest intensity duel in the infinite primordial space. Normally, the ancestors played a minimal role, and even the ordinary moves of the cultivator lords like Jin and Mo Man were weak. Only burning the main battle avatars could influence the battle situation. Luofoam was the same back then. Many ordinary methods were useless. They were annihilated in the face of the multi-layered domains and power of both sides, unable to penetrate the opponent's camp. But now it was one-on-one. Luofoam's move combined of life and death. Even if it was ordinary among the lords, when it descended on the Shadow Lord, it still made the Shadow Lord feel that innumerable blade lights were cutting and annihilating his body. What move is this? I can't even dodge. The Shadow Lord was somewhat panicked. Even though he mastered the highest level shadow force, making himself like a shadow, capable of merging into space-time, capable of merging into all things, but the endless blade light of Luofoam still annihilated all life composition parts of him by chasing down life chi mechanism, leaving the Shadow Lord with nowhere to escape. Truly weak. Luofoam had just become a lord, faced the intensity of battles between the 2 major camps, and now only found this Shadow Lord too weak. Merge? Numerous forces were annihilated. The Shadow Lord could only merge his life forces, with sufficient strength, to resist these billion blade lights. Merged? Luofoam instantly locked onto the enemy. A brilliant blade light flared. Luofoam struck. With a terrifying slash following the life chi mechanism, the Shadow Lord could not evade and was pierced through the chest by one slash. Even the escaping power was pierced by strands of blade light. The might of Luofoam's slash was too terrifying, forcibly annihilating this body of the Shadow Lord, leaving behind only some treasures and such. No life core carried? Luofoam looked at this scene, and frowned slightly. This was within his expectations. This was also why he found the Blood Crane territory troublesome. In the infinite primordial space, some ancestor-level existences. They lack the ability of undying and thus have developed other life-saving methods. For example, not carrying their life core, hiding it in extremely hard-to-find special places. Though in this way, the avatar that acts outside might only have 30% of its strength. But 30% of an ancestor's strength is enough to sweep through all creatures below ancestor, enough to act as they please. The life cores of the 3 lords of Blood Crane territory are all hidden deep within their native Blood Crane territory. No one so far has found their life cores. Swoosh! A wisp of thought descended from afar. A shadow avatar appeared and condensed. It was the avatar of the Shadow Lord. Luofoam. The Shadow Lord looked at Luofoam, angrily said, "If you return all my treasures, I might spare you, and stop coming to the cultivator territory." Give you the treasures? Luofoam had already gathered the spoils of war. Most of these spoils of war were the various resources seized from the cultivator territory. You're dreaming. Luofoam. I won't let it slide. The Shadow Lord was furious. I will come to your cultivator territory again and again, rob again and again, let you never have peace. Everything I lost, I will take back. I heard that to this day, no one has been able to find your life cores deep within the mysterious land of Blood Crane territory and completely wipe you out. Luofoam looked at the avatar of the Shadow Lord. I would like to give it a try. Just you. The Shadow Lord was disdainful. He was very confident in his strength, very confident in the Blood Crane territory that nurtured him. The power of the mysterious land of Blood Crane territory is far beyond what a few ancestors can match. If you have the guts, just come. The Shadow Lord sneered. After saying that, this wisp of avatar dispersed. Blood Crane territory? Luofoam knew very well that defeating one avatar of the Shadow Lord was not enough to threaten him. The opponent could breed a new powerful avatar and send it once again. The way to truly deter the opponent is to attack the opponent's lair. I really want to see what is so remarkable about this Blood Crane territory. Luofoam thought, then tore the space-time passage apart, immediately starting to leave the range of the cultivator territory, heading towards the distant location, Blood Crane territory. This video will end here.